Alright, what's going on, guys? So today's going to be just a quick tips and tricks video for beginners getting into EvoCreo 2. I'm going to be going over 10 really quickly, no fluff, so let's dive into it. First of all, if you didn't already know, when in battle, if you hold any of the icons such as moves or statuses, you can actually see info pertaining to what that specific thing does. And this is really helpful because there are a lot of statuses and techniques that you might not be familiar with and are definitely different from their Pokemon counterparts. Speaking of which, a lot of the positive status effects like focus and power that actually buff you for a limited amount of time will carry over to other fights. So if you have a particularly difficult fight coming up, you could go into the wild, buff yourself with one of your moves, run away, and then start the fight with a bit of an advantage. Also, make sure you actually go to your parents after getting your starter and talk to your dad, because he will give you 5 links, which are the game's version of Pokeballs or capture devices. If you don't do this, you're gonna have to wait all the way until you can get to a shop and are gonna miss out on some of the early wild spots. Another beginner tip that you're going to want to keep in mind is that when you are fighting, sometimes the damage will show up as red, sometimes it'll show up as pink, and other times it'll show up as yellow. Red means the attack is super effective, pink means it's not very effective, and yellow means you just landed a critical hit, which is extra damage. Also of note is that attacks do not automatically get learned when you don't have space for them. You'll have to go to the summary menu and actually remove certain attacks and add others. Some attacks actually take up more than one slot. You have multiple slots in which you can place your attacks, and the stronger ones that also cost more energy tend to take up more, whilst weaker attacks tend to take up less. This gives you a lot of flexibility and also balances the monsters quite well. Traits are another thing that you need to keep in mind when playing the game. Unlike Pokemon, monsters don't just have one set passive trait, they actually get more as they level up, so you could check the summary screen to see what kind of buffs you're getting. Number 7 is breadcrumbs. Make sure you get breadcrumbs at any shop that you can. These are basically like the homeward bone from Dark Souls in that they'll teleport you to the last center you were at, and they can be abused a little bit. You don't actually have to go into the center. You could just enter a town and they will work that way. This is especially useful because there are some soft locks in the game, so this will allow you to not get stuck and will save you a lot of time because movement speed in this game is pretty slow. Speaking of movement speed, make sure you get a Ridemon as soon as you can. When you get to the desert area, there is a tutor that will teach your monsters how to ride, and you can find a ride monster in the same area, so make sure you do that because movement speed is really slow. If you're looking to grind up your monsters a little bit, each town has an arena that can actually be infinitely battled. It's much better than just battling wild monsters, so if you decide to enter an arena, you have to pay a price, but don't leave until you're happy with the levels that you have, because you can keep battling them consecutively. And finally, there are actually skill points in the game that you'll get for completing various tasks. A lot of them are main story tasks, and you can actually allocate these skill points by going to your profile through the pause menu. And one of them that I'd recommend getting as soon as possible is to increase your movement speed. It doesn't give you a crazy amount of movement speed, but it'll definitely allow for a lot less frustration when navigating the game. But there are other buffs as well, like increasing your Creo's damage and increasing your capture rate and stuff like that. But yeah, those were 10 quick tips and tricks for EvoCreo 2. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see any other guides, and stay tuned for my review on the game, which should be coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all things monster taming. I'll see you next time.